the voice of Long Beach, the one and only, Halftime, Howie!
Okay, we have a great show planned today. We have the legend, Howie here to talk about the police union rejecting the contract in Long Beach, so we expect Howie to have quite something to say about that big issue. Rocco Pasafumi is going to do the review on Cats, give his opinion on that movie that just came out, and we're excited to introduce a great singer here in Long Island. Matt Miller is going to make his debut on the Halftime Howie show. So we are all excited for another show, our last show of the year from Pancho's Cantina here in Island Park. Okay, we call this segment Around the Movie Block with The Rock. And our movie critic, Rocco Pasafumi, is going to talk about the movie Cats.
Yes.
So take it away, Rocco.
Yes, the movie I have for you this week is none other than the ever-popular musical Cats. It is directed by Tom Hooper, and it stars an all-star cast, mainly Taylor Swift, Jennifer Hudson, Judi Dench, Idris Elba, introducing Francesca Hayward, upon a plethora of others. It takes place in London, where a tribe of cats called the Jellicles come together in an annual ball to decide which one will ascend to what is known as the Heaviside Layer and be reincarnated. If this plot seems a little too, fantastical to you, that's because really it is. I mean, part of what made Cats so unique as a musical when it came out in the West End and Broadway in the 1980s was just how kind of fantastical it really was, this idea of these humanoid cats performing. It was what really introduced me to musicals in the first place. Pretty much everybody who came of age with me, that was the musical of the time was Cats. And it's been a long years in the making of making this movie finally. The thing though about the way they approach this movie is, first of all, because it is a movie and we're in years later where you need a lot of bang for your buck. The approach that they chose was having the use of CGI in order to make the cats kind of come alive. And it's I'm a little on the fence about that approach because it looks weird. It just has this kind of weird aesthetic to it versus, when you were doing it on stage, you had makeup and costumes, and that had a more simpler approach than what you see here. The cats, as displayed using CGI, is just, it has you cannot help but feel kind of off-put by it a little bit. The other aspect of the film that, unfortunately, is a big weakness of it is the whole concept of it itself. The fact that most of the musical is mainly songs, and it hangs under a very, very thin plot. There's a very thin plot that holds all these songs together. It's based on a book of poems from T.S. Eliot, and that by itself, the core of what Cats is, it works well on the stage. It works very well. It's very, very entertaining. But as a movie, especially a movie that is years and years after the play was on the West End and on Broadway, you feel like you wonder if there's going to be enough bang for the buck, for people to, you have all these songs. Most of the songs have a kind of whimsy to them. They're fun little songs, but there's not as many songs that have that kind of staying power, say, compared to The Greatest Showman. The Greatest Showman was a movie that managed to be kind of a surprise hit because the songs were just uniformly excellent, and the aspect to the plot of that, people were able to forgive the plot because the songs were so good. You don't see that quite so much with Cats. Cats doesn't have that same sort of uniform excellence with all the songs. There's some songs that are decent for the most part, but there's only very few that have that kind of, that kind of stand out and have that kind of push where, you have 2 hours of this and you feel like it's not, it doesn't, you feel more exhausted than entertained. And then the other aspect to Cats that is not gonna really hit home with everybody is the fact that with the musical itself, with the way it's structured, you find that, like I said, on top of the fact that it has the kind of, like I said, there's not too much plot. What little plot they add to it doesn't quite, kind of make up for the fact that, yes, the plot is extremely thin, and that doesn't really help, in terms of telling the story. And I think that, for this, I think it has a kind of polarizing aspect where either you like it or you don't. And I think, like, unless you really like Cats a lot, it's just not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I mean, I grew up with Cats, I loved Cats, I thought it was very cool. But like I said, I think that unless you really are going to be in it 100%, it's not going to be the kind of thing that will appeal to everybody. And then the other fact, that the kind of nail in the coffin with this is the fact that Tom Hooper has an approach with his movies, with his musicals. He did this in Les Miserables, and he does it here too. That's going to be also very off-putting to people. The fact that he films the songs, the people singing the songs, with synchronized sound, meaning, they're filming them at, singing live, basically. It's not like most musicals where they traditionally, they have the songs, performed, and then they do the post editing production where they have them kind of, it's what they call ADR or looping, where they have them sing after the fact. And, unfortunately, when you have people singing live, on a set with many takes, then you don't get the best performance. And I think that will also make this very, very off-putting to a lot of people. So all that in tandem, you have a musical here that's very average. And I think that unless you really are into musicals and you love Cats, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, unfortunately. So that on top of the choices that are made with this, I would give Cats 2 out of 5 stars. So thank you.
Rocco always is honest,
Yes.
and always gives his succinct point of view.
Yes, thank you.
And we thank you so much, Rocco.
Thank you.
All right.